When you see the comparison to what we saw literally at the hospital for the Royal Marsden upon the recent visit of Catherine, the Princess of Wales, returning back to a hospital that had treated her in secret over the last year, you couldn't really make the comparison at all, could you? Because when you look at this particular headline, which is really shocking in itself, it's all about corridor doctors and nurses. And this is because over here in the United Kingdom, things have reached epic proportions. And that is, people are being treated literally after waiting for hours on gurneys and makeshift beds in corridors in our once esteemed hospitals. So how has it got that bad? And more importantly, who's to blame? And I think really the real factor is, how can you fix it? Well, I could tell you. Let me explain. Morning, good to see you. Thank you so much for your time. As I said before, it was really moving, wasn't it, seeing Catherine, the Princess of Wales, at the Royal Marsden Hospital. I just thought she showed great empathy, and you could see she'd broken away, if you like, for a while and really understood the pain and suffering those people were going through. Very heartfelt, and I'm sure a lot of people were cheered up by that. I felt particularly sorry for the lady with the hat on. You could just see she was going through terrible things. And actually, just for a brief moment, I think Catherine had taken her mind off it. That was a wonderful thing to do, Mum. Thank you. You know, it's awful stuff, isn't it? And that's the problem, isn't it, with health? But the bigger problem over here is this: corridor doctors and nurses. Now, it's all big headlines and stuff like that, but here's the thing, where is the problem? I've been to a hospital, right, recently, and the bottom line is, what you find is simply this. You see, behind the scenes, what you see are people, it's like a third world country. People literally just sat there with no shoes and socks on, not from this country, can't speak English. And again, here's another bigger problem that nobody dares factor in. When you go to the receptionist, right, these people, the illegals, the invaders, turn up en masse. And while you're told not to bring people to the hospital because, you know, there isn't the space and all that, they don't care about that. And nobody behind the scenes at the NHS dares say anything for fear of being called out. Now, the next bit is, while you, me, a white British middle-aged man, could get seen very quickly because I can explain my complaint, no. The problem is, you now have to wait really down the back of the queue because they don't want to be seen as having favouritism. And on top of that, while you're waiting, they've now got to find an interpreter for these people who none of the group, maybe bar one, can speak a word of English. Now, while they're waiting for an interpreter, time is ticking. And that's the reason why all of this is really escalating. Make no mistake about it. Now, on top of that, there's plenty of money in the NHS. It's just not at the right people. The middle management, for instance, you go on any NHS website and there are oodles of jobs for, you know, inclusivity managers and all of that type of rubbish that we don't need. What we really need are tough people on the wards. Bring back the matrons who know exactly how to deal with the problems in hand, making sure, of course, that they're clean, spick and span, and there's an orderly form. But it boils down to this: the ineffectual Wes Streeting, whenever he goes to visit a hospital, oh, it's like a second coming, you know, a royal visit. Everybody spruces up and he barely sees what's on hand. Yes, he's told, and I'm sure he's seen pictures and stuff online, but nothing is proactively done. The biggest problem is, if you were to remove away all the people that have turned up that are using the NHS service now for free, even many flying in using aliases from their own families based here to exploit for operations, for whatever, if you had better fact checking at that level, literally the waiting list would come down. But for people like you and me, well, we're way back at the queue. The suggestion you might come up with is, in fact, try and learn another language, or better still, pretend you don't speak English and cover yourself up from head to toe. That way is the only way, seemingly, in this broken NHS, you will now get seen. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.